And I'm going to turn the time over to Kimberly.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our What is Plexus call tonight. I'm so excited to be here. This is one of my favorite things to talk about because I take these products and I have seen so many changes in myself. And so when I started feeling better, it was really easy for me to start sharing. Just a little bit about me. I am a nurse practitioner and I've been in the medical field. I'm going to age myself over 30 years. So it's been a really long time. And I am an advocate for Western medicine and also Eastern medicine. In my clinic, when I have patients, I recommend multivitamins and omegas and probiotics. I really feel like in today's world, we just have to fill in the nutritional gaps, the things that we're not getting in our bodies, right? And so, I've always taken probiotics. I've always taken multivitamins. But there was a point in my life when I was introduced to these products and I was really, really struggling. I was 42 at the time. This is 9 years ago. And I felt like I was 90. Some of the things that I struggled with, I wrote these down so I could just go through them quickly. But the biggest thing that I was struggling with was fatigue. I I was exhausted 24/7. Between my morning clinic and my afternoon clinic, I would schedule a nap. And my medical assistants, they'd do me a solid and go get me more caffeine just so I could get through my day. And when I came home, I'd plop myself on the couch and I'd take another nap. And then at nighttime, I couldn't sleep. And so I had to take sleeping pills. And I was in this vicious cycle of fatigue, not sleeping, just feeling miserable. So when my friend reached out to me, she told me about these products. And I was like, oh, you know what? I'm good. I already take a probiotic. I already take omegas and things like that. So I'm good. But I watched her, and she was actually a mom that brought her babies into my clinic. And I watched her change. And about 90 days of watching her change and just feeling so good, I was like, okay, I am so desperate. I feel so miserable. If I could just get a little bit of energy, then I could show up for my kids better. I was single at the time. I had two teenage boys. They played competitive soccer. We were always running. And in between running, I was sleeping, taking naps, feeling miserable. I also had achy joints. My hips just, I knew when a storm was coming in because my hips would just feel like they're on fire. I had heartburn and had to take Pepsid or Protonics every single night. I would wake up in the middle of the night with heartburn issues. I also had some weight gain. I also felt like I was addicted to soda. Like I said, I'd have my medical assistants go and grab a soda for me during lunch so that I could get through the day. But I started with soda in the morning. I started with a Monster Energy drink or a Diet Coke. Even being a nurse practitioner, knowing how toxic that garbage is, I was just desperate, right? I also felt like sugar controlled me. I lived on sugar, like sugar. I had a stash of sugar in every drawer. And maybe you can relate to that, but in the pantry, in my drawer at work, like I always had sugar. So those are some of the things that I struggled with. But honestly, those were mild compared to just the fatigue. If I just truly like, if I felt like if I could just get some energy, then maybe I could go back to the gym because I've always been active in my life. I've run marathons, I hike, I love the outdoors. And I just came to a place in my life where I was like, I can't function anymore. So I had seen Oprah Winfrey one day, and she talked about how all 40-year-olds have thyroid issues. So I hadn't had a panel in a long time. And I'm like, that's it. I have thyroid issues. So I went and I did some blood work. And wouldn't you know, everything came back normal. And I was like, that can't be. I mean, I feel miserable. But the doctor that I was speaking with, he said, you know what? You're a single mom. You're tired. You probably just need to sleep more. And I was like, are you kidding me? That's all I feel like I do is sleep. And he was like, just try to get more rest. So that was my answer, but that didn't sit well with me. And so as I watched my friend get better, I was like, even though I'm taking a probiotic, which I had done a ton of research on, it was an $80 a month probiotic. It wasn't working. And we all know the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, obviously, the supplements I was taking, they just weren't working in my body. So I decided to give it a try. And I committed to 90 days and I thought I was going to get my money back because that's the beautiful thing about this company. They don't have people return their products. That's how good the products are, but they have a 60-day money back guarantee. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get my money back. So I started the products, and within a couple of weeks, I started to notice some energy. And by day 30, I quit taking my Ambien. Now, mind you, that is a sleeping pill. And if you know anything about Ambien, it's horrible. It is, you do crazy things. It's very addictive. I had taken it for 8 years, and 30 days in, I stopped. Well, it has been, gosh, 9.5 years since I've taken an Ambien. And that was 30 days in. So that was a huge win for me that I did not expect to see. My mom has insomnia. My sisters have insomnia. I just thought that was like my lot in life, right? So, and then about 60 days in, I joined a gym. I started having energy. I wasn't taking naps during my lunch. I was going for a walk. About 75 days in, my heartburn went away. And I'm telling you what, that was so big to me because it was such a struggle, always popping pills, right? And about that time too, like I stopped drinking soda, sugar stopped controlling me. I really felt like I was able to show up better for my kids, for my friends, for my job. Like I was feeling so good. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. This is not a quick fix. This is something that takes time. And that is what you want. We live in a society that we really, I mean, if you want something, you order it from Amazon and it's on your porch in 3 hours. It is insane, right? And so this is something that's not going to be an overnight fix. Now, you may feel something within 24 hours. You may feel something in 2 weeks. I'm looking at both Jess's here, and I know they struggled for a little bit. And that is totally okay, because in order to get to root issues, you really have to start healing from the inside out. And that takes time. So we never say this is a quick fix, but we can guarantee pretty much within 60 days, you're going to start seeing some positive changes. And those positive changes, they are going to stack on top of each other as you continue to take these products. So by a year, I had lost 20 pounds. I wasn't taking any medication. I wasn't taking Ambien. I wasn't taking anxiety medication. I wasn't taking medication for heartburn. I was completely off all my meds except for taking supplements, which was so big. And again, I just wanted more energy, right? But when you get to the root issue, which we're going to talk about tonight, that's where the magic happens. So I have taken the products now for 9.5 years. I work the business because I love this company so much. And my team has helped thousands and thousands of people feel better. And that is such a win. And that is the beautiful part of being an advocate for health, whether that looks like through Western medicine or through Eastern medicine. There is a place for both. But the thing that I find is most people are lacking in nutrients. They're lacking in, they have poor gut health. And so that is why we have all these issues, right? So I'm going to talk about two products really quick. They're two of my favorite products. They're two of the products that I started with, and they really are foundational for root issues. So when we talk about root issues, we're talking about gut health. We're talking about inflammation in the body. Inflammation is a silent killer. And then we're talking about blood sugar balance. So much research has gone into those three things. And those are the things, if you can get those under control, you're going to have a ripple effect on so many other areas in your life. So this first one that I'm going to talk about is Slim. This is our pink drink. It comes in a bag like this. There's 30 servings. I don't want to make too much noise. But it is an amazing drink. I hate the name Slim actually, because yes, it does help with weight management, but it is so much more than that. And I'm going to get into some details with that. So it is an all natural plant-based drink. It is sweetened with stevia, and the color, it's this beautiful pink. It comes from beetroot. And if you do research on beetroot, there are so many amazing benefits to beetroot. So it is pink. There is no caffeine, so it is not a stimulant. But the great thing is it focuses on blood sugar balance. And blood sugar balance is so important for your hormones. So if you think about it, your insulin is your master hormone. And when you control your master hormone, insulin, it has a trickle-down effect on all of your other hormones. So testosterone, estrogen, thyroid, all of those things are related to blood sugar balance. If you struggle with acne, especially cystic acne, that is a blood sugar issue. If you struggle with moods or you get hangry, that's one thing that I really struggled with is I was always hangry. I'd have highs and lows. I knew as soon as like the food wore off in my body, I started feeling hangry and it was like, I need food or I'm going to like do some damage to someone because I would just feel so yucky. So, a blood sugar balance is so important for so many things. It's going to help with cravings. It's going to help with your moods. It's going to help with your energy. It's going to help with your sleep. Your sleep is so important. That's where you heal. And you need to get into that deep REM sleep. And most people don't get great sleep because of blood sugar issues. And so, with this drink, you drink it once a day. You can drink it in the morning or night, whatever feels good to you, just because there's no stimulants. And yeah, it's basically like magic in a drink. One other thing about it is it has alpha lipoic acid, and that's a really amazing antioxidant. That's really going to focus on inflammation. Within a few months, I talked about how achy my joints were and my hips were. I stopped having that. And it was incredible to feel so good and not be achy anymore. And that is from alpha lipoic acid. And so there have been studies that have shown that alpha lipoic acid actually helps with Lyme disease and it helps pull heavy metals from the body. And we all know we're exposed to heavy metals every single day. So this drink really is fabulous. You can drink it 2 times a day if you have weight loss goals. Whoever invited you here, we always do coaching. We always talk about like what's going to be in your best benefit. And it's very, very simple. It tastes amazing. There's actually multiple flavors. And it's just so delicious. The other thing that I want to talk about is X Factor Plus. This is a multivitamin, and truly, like I talked about, everyone should be on a multivitamin just because we're not getting the nutrients that we used to get. You know, you used to go to the store and get an apple, and it was picked within the week. Well, nowadays, they are picked 6 weeks before they are even delivered to the store. So nothing has nutrients the way that it did. So X Factor Plus is really cool because it is a fully methylated vitamin. And if you're not familiar with methylation, that's just the way your body absorbs these nutrients. Well, 50% of the population has a condition, a genetic mutation called MTHFR. Sounds terrible, but it is, you cannot absorb multivitamins. You can't absorb those nutrients. So the great thing about this vitamin, whether you have the genetic mutation or not, you are going to absorb this vitamin. And that is so important. It has methylated folate, methylated B12. You're going to get the nutrients you need from it. There are also polyphenols, and that is really cool because that affects your gut health. There's grapeseed extract in it. It has been studied and shown to help with hot flashes. So if you are in that area of your life, perimenopause, menopause, there have been studies that show that it helps with that. And yes, I'm looking at Josh. Men can take this vitamin too. You're not going to get hot flashes, you lucky sucker, but you're going to get the nutrients that you need. It also has been studied to help with moods. So when you take a vitamin and you're absorbing it and you're getting those vitamins in your body, you're naturally going to feel happier. And there are studies that have shown that mood increases with this product. So those are the 2 things that I wanted to talk about. Blood sugar balance and inflammation. Those are 2 of the root issues. I'm going to turn the time over to Jessica Cheney, and she is going to talk about a couple other products, share her story, and then we will go to Jess Halls.
Yay, thank you, Kimberly. I first of all, I want to say I didn't start off with X Factor Plus and I wished I would have looking back on it. I was struggling with like some hair loss issues when I had started with Plexus. And I started taking X Factor Plus, but my hair was like hardcore falling out and I ended up chopping my hair back in February all the way up to here. Guys, this is how long my hair is all the way now. Like it is grown like freaking mad. It's crazy awesome. And so, but not only that, my moods have 100% increased. My little 3-year-old decided to crawl out of his crib for the first time, if you guys were just wondering. So here he is. This is Boston. He's the best. Anyways, so I started on Plexus because I was kind of like Kimberly. I was at a loss with myself. I had gone to a doctor to get my hormones checked. I was postpartum. I felt like a hot mess. I wasn't myself. I wasn't happy. I was doing all the right things, going to the gym every single day, eating all the right foods, drinking a gallon of water every day. I could not figure out what was going on with me. And I resented like being a mom to my kids. I resented life in general. I felt like I should have been on an antidepressant and I wasn't. And I started on Plexus because Jess Halls came up to me. She's like, Jess, I've been on this gut health journey in my life and it has changed me. And she's like, and I see a lot of me in you. And she's like, I know that this will benefit you. I said, all right, you've got 60 days, lady, let's do it. And I was mortified and I was scared out of my mind. And my husband was just like, this isn't working. This isn't working. Get all your money back, blah, blah, blah. Well, then all of a sudden on week 8, a light flickered on and a new Jess came around. And it came around more and more. And there was one day I was out of my house and I remember like pulling into my house. I was like, why do my cheeks hurt from smiling so much? Like, what is the deal? I was a whole different person. And finally, like I had asked my husband, I said, do you notice anything different with me? And he's like, yeah, you are so much less pissy. Like I was like, okay, something is working. So it really has changed my life. It has made my inflammation in my body drop drastically. My face, my body has been able to like let go of stress that I didn't know that I had. It truly has transformed not only my life but my family's life, because when there's a happy mom, happy wife, there is a happy life. And I enjoy my kids. I enjoy being next to everybody. I enjoy waking up every morning to be part of their life. But then I also was able to pull on a third job. How crazy psycho is that? I decided to do that. And I feel like I've been able to manage it. There's moments that I'm like, just breathe for today. It's okay. But that's normal. We're only human, right? So I really feel, and if I wasn't on Plexus, there is no way in the right mind that I would have been able to do this. From the stage that I was at, I remember I'd call my husband, like crying like 3 times a week, being like, I can't do this anymore. Consider me out. Like I really wasn't good. But all of a sudden, my sisters have seen the change in me. My mom has seen a change in me. My mom has really suffered with anxiety and depression. When I was 13, she was institutionalized for 5 months. And so in April, I strategically put her on Plexus because I knew that she would be outside most all of summer. She was working at a girls' camp facility up in Heber. And all of a sudden, she has come to me and she said, Jess, I notice the days that I'm not on it, I spiral. And I said, it really is your gut health. She sleeps like a rock. I sleep like a rock. Things really have changed in my life because of Plexus. And my sister asked me last year for my birthday, she's like, what has been the best thing of this year? And I said, honestly, finding Plexus, because it has changed me so much. So it really has, and it's made me the happiest person. I'm going to chat really quickly about 2 of the products that I've been on, including the X Factor and the pink drink. But I've also been on BioCleanse. And for those who are not regular poopers, join the club, because I'm not either. I really struggled with pooping. I'd go poop every 3 or 4 days, and that was normal for me. I poop once a day, unless if you guys really want to know, I poop at 7:15 in the morning. That's where I'll be. So I poop every day thanks to BioCleanse, and it is the best gentle form of magnesium and helps me sleep so hard. It really has been a game changer. BioCleanse is what takes out the toxins from your body, and it allows your body to gently maneuver things and pull out all of the toxins, all of the dirt that our body tends to carry, and it releases it naturally. It is a great form of magnesium. Yes, this is a true indication of your gut health for sure. If you're not pooping regular, Jess is going to tell you why, and I'll leave it up to her in just a second. But and then I've also been on Probio 5, and Probio 5 is a natural form of 5 digestive enzymes that have been bringing in good gut bacteria that our food has been depleting us of. Yes, I was eating all the right food, but my body wasn't digesting it the way that our bodies need to be doing that. Probio 5 allows our bodies to do that, and it allows our bodies to bring in the good gut bacteria while taking out the bad with BioCleanse. So these 2 things have truly transformed me as a person. Jess, am I missing anything else? Kimberly, what else am I missing between these 2? I feel like that's the basis between it, right?
No, that's perfect. And
Okay.
really, they do work so synergistically together so beautifully. Like even when I started Plexus, I didn't feel like I needed one or the other because I was taking my $90 probiotic. And then, guys, I was a once a week pooper. I literally pooped once a week. And in fact, I went 22 days without pooping when I was pregnant with my oldest. So I am a chronic, I had chronic constipation and now I poop just like Jessica. You know where I'm at 7 o'clock in the morning. Every morning I poop like clockwork. And it also helps people that poop too much to help slow them down. And that's one thing I love it. People with IBS, it does help kind of regulate them so that they are emptying and having a really good solid bowel movement a few times a day. But to introduce myself really quick, I'm actually going to introduce my husband too as well, because he's a huge part of my health journey. This is Josh. I'm Jessica. We live here in Utah, have 4 kids, and we are both in the medical field. He is a nurse practitioner like Kimberly Greening, and I am a registered nurse, and we collectively advocate for Western medicine. We love Western medicine. However, it was Western medicine that failed me. I remember going to nursing school and I remember checking off all of these diseases and being like, I will never be that person. I will never struggle with that. And then I turned 30 and I was taking 30 plus medications. I was taking 8 months worth of antibiotic therapy and antifungals. I was dealing with infertility. I was dealing with infant loss, a lot of issues that way. I was seeing doctor after doctor, and I had the nurse curse, is what people would call it, because I would see every doctor under the sun. In fact, there's an Amanda on this call. She's not showing her face right now, but she's a dear friend of mine, also a nurse. She babysat my kids very regularly so that I could go to doctor's appointments literally every month. I maxed out all of our out-of-pockets. We were at the pharmacy, probably weekly.
I
All the
worked at
time.
Costco. It was like, hey, can you pick up this prescription for me?
Yeah, I was a regular patient, but I was desperate, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally too. And if you've been in that space, I see you, I validate you, and I hear you, because it got to a point where I got a bill in the mail for $500 because that specialty wasn't covered by my insurance. And I remember looking at my husband and I said, I can't do this anymore. Just like Kimberly shared. It's the definition of insanity. We overuse and overabuse Western medicine, and we don't allow what our bodies are actually meant to do. They're meant to heal from the inside out. How we fuel it is what matters. You're going to feel how you fuel. And I was depleted and I depleted a lot of my nutrients, micronutrients, vitamins, probiotics, the right things to support my blood sugar balance, my inflammation, and my good gut health. I was celery juicing. I made him do it with me. And we were spending like $400 a month in organic celery juice. And I would literally gag it down. And then I'd also want peanut butter after and maybe a cup of ranch. I mean, he was good. He would just down it, but it didn't do anything for me. And I was doing all the things. I was taking the probiotics and then I was taking the 30 plus meds. And finally, I got to that point where I was like, this is ridiculous. I've got to try something different. So I had a good friend who posted about this pink drink, and you better believe I was very skeptical. I didn't tell a single soul except Josh and Kimberly Greening and 2 other of my friends that helped me get started on this journey that I was on these products. I thought it was hokey pokey. I was going to prove them wrong, that it wasn't going to work for me. And a couple months in, I wanted to quit. I remember the day I texted Kimberly Greening saying this isn't working for me. And it was actually my husband that said, hold on a minute. Let's talk about what life looks like for you right now. I want you to look at the roses and I want you to look at the thorns. We will always have thorns. Even today, I have thorns, right? There's still times that I get sick, not as often as I used to. I used to keep Hall's cough drops in business because I had a chronic sore throat. I had a cough drop in my mouth all the time. He likes to joke because I would stain my pillowcases because I would drool at night because I couldn't breathe. I had a high inflammation in my nose. I had oral infections. I had yeast. I had overgrowth. I had a white tongue. If you guys haven't seen pictures of that, I could scrape white candida off my tongue, but I would always test negative for candida at the doctor's office. Like I had so many symptoms outwardly that no one could help me inwardly because gut health, there's not a ton of what do they call it? They don't even advocate for it much.
You're starting to see a lot more people like doctors who have been in medicine for years. All of a sudden, they're in the same situation, right? And they are turning to functional medicine because medicine's failing people because we're putting a band-aid on everything. Here's a band-aid for that. You're a tired mom. What a terrible thing to say as a practitioner to a patient. We should be finding that root cause, getting your body. I believe I take care of patients that are all older than 65. And I can count on one hand how many patients are in their 90s and taking one or two medications, and they're still, and I ask them what, I look at their med list and say, how did you do it? How did you go to 92 and you're walking without a walker?
Doing
You're
squats.
doing, I saw him today. No joke. How many 95-year-olds can do this? He does a squat for me. And I'm like, you're the only one. But every one of those people have something in common, and it's supplementation, getting nutrients back into their system, helping their body heal the way that it should. If you've ever been on an antibiotic, it takes you 7 years to replace your gut microbiome. Everybody's been on one. It's the number one thing we do for bacterial overgrowth. And not that we shouldn't be on one, right? We want to get feeling better, but what are we doing to help our body recover
And support.
and support from having a disease? We're going to get sick and it's inevitable, right? The foods we eat that are full of preservatives and full of gunk, and the sugar, we try to make it taste good and be addictive. It's going to affect our body. But if we can do something to combat that, to prevent disease later on in life, why wouldn't you do it?
I agree. So, long story short, he helped me see those roses that they come back every year. They grow be more beautiful and more bright and more colorful, even though the thorns are still there. And he was right. I was starting to come off medications. I was no longer napping every day. I was no longer having a cough drop in my mouth all the time. I was no longer asking my friend Amanda to watch my kids, which, by the way, you guys, she's totally on Plexus because she didn't poop and she thought it was normal to not poop. And I was like, Amanda, it's not normal. And now she poops and now she's sharing about pooping. So I promise, like, we normalize not feeling well and we do it often because we kind of almost give up. We feel like we've done the thing. We've gone to the doctor, we've done the medication, we've taken the nap, we've grabbed for the Dr. Pepper or the sweets or the treats, and we normalize just those habits. And so it took me a few months. I was like, Jessica, I wanted to quit, and I did not start seeing those light bulbs for almost 4 months. And I remember feeling pretty frustrated, but at the same time, I had to remind myself, I was 31 years old at the time. It took me how many days, weeks, months, and years to get to where I was at. It was not going to be an overnight fix. We live in an Amazon Prime world. I love it. I love ordering something at 10 p.m. at night and having it on my doorstep at 4 a.m. It saves me so many times for birthdays and my kids, but we just don't live in that world, and we shouldn't have that expectation of living in that world. We have 10 million times the cells in our gut than what make up the entire human body. So you've got to think about all of those cells breaking down and eliminating through your body. And that's why I love Plexus so much, because you do get an individualized coach to help you through it, to tweak, to adjust, but allow the time to heal. Allow those cells to regenerate and replenish and reset. Allow blood sugar balance to happen. It's not going to be an overnight fix, and I'm so glad that it's not. I'm so glad that I was able to give my body the time that it needs, because now 6, 7 years, almost, I'll be 7 years in January being on Plexus. I am medication free and I live with an autoimmune. I have celiac disease, which I thought at the time was the answer to all my gut health issues, and it wasn't. I went gluten free for several months before I started Plexus, and I didn't see any improvement. So to be an autoimmune warrior, also bringing my rainbow baby here after several miscarriages and a stillbirth, I know that my body was depleting what it needed. And I'm so grateful that Plexus offers that. It fills in the gap. It bridges what we don't get in our diet, in our modern world and diet. Because we, like Kimberly said, the average apple, we just don't get the nutrients like we used to. And you can tell the difference even in the taste. I remember what a banana tasted like, you guys, when I was 5. They don't taste like that anymore. And I know that it's because we just lack what we used to get from our soils, from our foods, and even stress. I think about the last even decade, what has changed in the world? There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of screens, there's a lot of environmental factors, there's a lot of heavy metals and exposures. And I think that totally takes a toll on your overall health. So that's kind of what I wanted to share, is allow your body the time to heal, allow your body time to break down those cells and flush out. And I'm going to just have you wrap up.
So I'll just say this, when it comes to the body, anything worth doing takes time. There's a reason why at the beginning of the year, you see the gyms flooded with people. They all have these New Year's resolutions. They want to look like The Rock. 3 months later, they don't look like The Rock. They quit, right? So the body takes time to heal. Allow yourself to go through what's called detoxification, where your body needs to get rid of everything it's been holding on for so long. Just like everybody here has said, if you're not having a bowel movement a day, you are building up toxins and they are wrecking your body. So give your body time to heal and stay consistent. Consistency is key. Don't take one day off. Don't take 2 days off. If you miss a day, jump right back on. That consistency with these gut health supplements is going to be what gets you to that end game where you're saying, I feel normal. Not that you feel good, you feel normal now. This is what normal feels like. And we've gotten so used as a society to not feeling normal, and we regularize that. Everybody feels like garbage. Nobody feels good. Well, that's not true. A ton of people feel great, and it's those people that are taking the time to be consistent with good supplements, allowing people to help them, like Kimberly, like Jessica, like Amanda, people who have been through it themselves and know some of the signs so that when you go through them, they can tell you, hey, we love it when you have a rash. That's your body detoxing. Expect that. Stay hydrated, exercise, do the things that you're supposed to do, and you will watch your body transform back to what it should be doing, being normal, sleeping.
To add this too, because I know there are some people that start it that aren't sick, that aren't don't have autoimmune, that don't have chronic illness. Guess what?
I wasn't sick. I
This
didn't have
guy,
gut issues. I had bowel movements every day.
and he's relatively a healthy guy that was on zero medications, but he saw the changes in me. So then he started to still my pink drink without me knowing. Still haven't forgiven him about like for that, but he ordered 6 months in and he is still religiously consistent and will never go off
If
of
I
them.
can prevent a disease today by doing something today that might affect me later on in life, why wouldn't you do it? And I promise you, having the right products, like Kimberly said, getting the right nutrients back into your system, because we are depleted. Listen to any good health podcast out there where they're doing good research. Our foods are depleted, they're full of sugar, they are wrecking our bodies. So take the right steps now to prevent disease later on, because I promise you, when that time comes and the disease is there, you're going to wish you would have taken the steps when you were younger.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love that. I know we only have a couple minutes left. Did anyone have any questions? It's validating hearing y'all's stories. Sometimes you feel crazy when you're suffering. I
And you
totally
feel
agree.
alone, and you're not. Everybody's suffering.
I remember telling Josh, like, is something wrong with me? Like, am I just believing what I'm saying out loud because I really do feel awful and no one would believe what I was saying? Like, I totally validate how you feel and how you say that because you also feel alone. I remember feeling like I was the only person feeling the way that I did, and it's such a lonely space to be in. And as a mom too, like no matter what your role looks like, I just remember I was always giving, 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 and I couldn't give anymore because I wasn't giving to me. In fact, my daughter, who is 11, also has celiac disease, and we always knew something was wrong with her, but we didn't even get her diagnosed until I was diagnosed myself because I did not have the energy or my health wasn't in a great place to take care of her health. So it's just like the airplane motto that they give you, always put your oxygen mask on first because you're not going to be able to give outwardly if you are not giving to yourself. Like I can finally give outwardly. And that's not just to my family. I show up so differently for my friends, my spouse, my parents. Like I'm able to show up in different capacities that I was never able to before. So, any other questions?
Ask your questions now. We have the great Kimberly Greening on. She is all knowledgeable.
And don't be shy. There's no dumb question.
Yeah,
No
ask away for
questions.
sure.
How do
I
we
was also going to say that this is 100% pregnancy safe. It's also breastfeeding safe. Everything is completely plant-based. And that was one of
for
the
your
biggest.
kids too?
Yes, I was going to say that was one of the biggest triggers for me that I was like, okay, I'll try it. I didn't want to do a GLP-1. I didn't want to do anything different. I wanted something to add to my body instead of deplete from it. And so I wanted to try something plant-based. And so I took a leap of faith and it has changed my life.
I love that. And I love what you shared, Kimberly. Illness and disease is so costly. Like, I could not agree with that more. You guys, it doesn't just rob you of money, but it robs you of time and energy and memories that you should be having with your kids and
I'm
not
sure life is not long.
like my daughter Aspen probably watched Frozen more than I'd like to admit the year that I was so sick. She watched it every day because I took a nap every day. So just know that illness and disease is a lot more expensive. Oh, and Haley, I'll reach out to you. I'll text you after. How does BMI change if eating less? Have you measured the body fat and muscle percentages and how have those been impacted? You want to take that?
Well, I mean, if your caloric intake is at a deficit, you will lose weight. So your BMI will change, but in the right direction. If you have fat to be lost, this is the right way to do it. I'm
More
sorry,
inflammation.
but people who are taking the skinny shot, they're losing muscle. And if you're losing muscle, your BMI, if you take it correctly, it really won't change. So you see these people get skinny, but they lose their muscle. So their BMI doesn't really change because they don't have any muscle. So you
Yeah.
actually need to, yeah. So like Kimberly said, the slim helps you create that caloric deficit where you're burning the fat, your muscle stays maintained.
And inflammation's a huge part of that.
Inflammation's huge.
You can link inflammation to everything, including weight management, and you will find so many evidence-based practice articles on inflammation. I lost pant sizes, but I'm heavier than I was before I started Plexus.
I lost 10 pounds when I started Plexus for reals, like in the first 2 weeks. But my muscle wasn't losing because I was lifting weights still. But I lost this unnecessary fat that came from snacking.
Visceral fat.
Visceral fat that gets chunked on. If you do a lot of yo-yo dieting, you gain visceral fat and it packs itself in between your organs and it's harder to lose. So when you get on products that are, again, balancing your blood sugars, balancing and getting rid of inflammation, it can actually attack those stores of glycogen and things that are now stored as fat in your body. And it allows you to lose that weight over time. They've actually shown that in 6 months of the pink drink, you'll lose the same amount of fat as someone on the GLP-1s in 6 months, but it's fat, no muscle at all.
Yes, I love that. I hope that helped, Julie. But if you have any other questions, reach out to the person that invited you here and we'll help answer them. And Julie, you can always reach out to me too. So thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I loved being here. Thank you for all that shared and we will chat soon. Have a good night, you guys.